How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. Out here in this quarantine, I'm James Sims. And for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to run down the Elite performances and matchups from yesterday, Monday, February 15th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that goes on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. With the NFL and MLB seasons completed as of today, starting with the NBA, jumping out to Washington, D.C. with the first primetime game of the night, or at least the first game of interest of the night. The Washington Wizards hosted the Houston Rockets, the two teams that engaged in the Russell Westbrook-John Wall trade at the beginning of the year. And this game, the Washington Wizards would beat the Houston Rockets 131-119 after outscoring Houston by 8 in the third quarter and gaining that momentum. For the Houston Rockets, their leading scorer would be their elite starting point guard, John Wall out of Kentucky, the former Washington Wizard. In addition to being given a video tribute, he would finish with 29 points, 3 rebounds, and 11 assists, alongside 5 turnovers in 35 minutes, shooting 10 for 26 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3, and 8 for 10 from the free throw line. For the Washington Wizards, their elite starting point guard, Russell Westbrook, would finish with 16 points, 13 rebounds, and 15 assists, alongside 5 turnovers in 33 minutes, as Westbrook shot 8 for 22 from the field. And then their leading scorer was their elite starting shooting guard, Bradley Beal, who finished with 37 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals in 36 minutes, as Beal shot 14 for 24 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. With this win, the Washington Wizards are 8-17, with the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they are 8.5 games behind the first place 76ers. With this loss, the Houston Rockets are currently 11-16, as they have the second worst record in the Western Conference. They are 11.5 games behind the Jazz, and they are currently 3.5 games behind the Warriors for a playoff spot. Jumping out to Utah, the Jazz hosted the Philadelphia 76ers as the best teams from both conferences faced off. In this one, the Utah Jazz would give the 76ers their 10th win of the season after outscoring Philadelphia by 13 points in the second quarter. For the Philadelphia 76ers, their starting power forward, Tobias Harris, would finish with 36 points and 10 rebounds, as well as 2 steals in 37 minutes, shooting 14 for 24 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. And the Philadelphia 76ers leading scorer would be their elite starting point guard, Ben Simmons, who finished with 42 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists in 38 minutes, shooting 15 for 26 from the field and 12 for 13 from the free throw line. For the Utah Jazz, their starting small forward, Joe Ingles, would finish with 20 points and 5 assists in 33 minutes, shooting 8 for 12 from the field and 2 for 2 from the free throw line. The Jazz elite starting center, Rudy Gobert, would finish with 11 points and 9 rebounds in 32 minutes with 2 blocks, as he shot 3 for 3 from the field and 5 for 8 from the free throw line. Their elite starting shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, would finish with 24 points and 3 rebounds and 5 assists in 35 minutes, as he shot 9 for 24 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the line. And the Utah Jazz leading scorer will come off the bench, as their point guard, Jordan Clarkson, would finish with 40 points and 2 steals in 29 minutes, shooting 13 for 20 from the field, 8 for 13 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the free throw line. With this win, the Utah Jazz are currently sitting at 23-5, what is currently the best record in the NBA. In the Western Conference, they are 2 games ahead of the reigning champions, or the defending champions, Los Angeles Lakers. With this loss, the Philadelphia 76ers are currently 18-10. They are the last team in the Eastern Conference to pick up their 10th loss. There's still 4 teams in the West that still have yet to do so, but within the Eastern Conference, they are still sitting on top. They are a game and a half ahead of the second place, the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks, who are both sitting right behind them. So that's where the Sixers currently sit, as the Jazz were able to pick up a big win at home. Jumping out to Los Angeles, the Clippers hosted the Miami Heat for yet another primetime game. And in this one, the Clippers would beat the Heat 125-118 after outscoring the Heat by 6 in the fourth quarter, going in leading by 1. For the Miami Heat in this matchup, off the bench, their point guard, Tyler Hero out of Kentucky, would finish with 27 points and 5 rebounds alongside 2 blocks in 41 minutes, shooting 11 for 20 from the field. Their elite starting center, Bam Adebayo, would finish with 27 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 blocks, in 36 minutes, shooting 12 for 15 from the field and 3 for 5 from the free throw line. And the leading scorer for the Miami Heat would be their elite small forward, Jimmy Butler, who finished with 30 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes, shooting 10 for 19 from the field and a perfect 10 for 10 from the line. And for the Los Angeles Clippers, their starting center, Ivica Zubac, who finished with 22 points and 8 rebounds in 28 minutes, shooting 9 for 11 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. The leading scorer for the Los Angeles Clippers would be their starting small forward, Marcus Morris Sr., as he finished with 32 points and 2 assists and 3 rebounds, alongside 5 fouls in 26 minutes, as Morris shot 11 for 15 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. With this win, the Los Angeles Clippers are 21-8, which is the third best record in the Western Conference. Within the conference, they are half a game behind the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. They are 2.5 games ahead of the fourth place Suns. And overall, they are 2.5 games behind the NBA leading Utah Jazz. With this loss, the Miami Heat are 11-16, which ties them with the Atlanta Hawks for the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference. Overall, they're a game out of the playoff picture as they are a game behind the 8th place Toronto Raptors. And overall, they are 6.5 games behind the first place 76ers. Looking out to the other games that weren't on prime time, the New York Knicks hosted the Atlanta Hawks in Madison Square Garden and were able to pull off a 123-112 win after outscoring Atlanta by 11 in the first half, and then they outscored them by 8 in the second half. For the Atlanta Hawks in this matchup, their leading scorer will be their elite starting point guard, Trae Young, out of Oklahoma, who finished with 23 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists in 40 minutes, as he shot 6 for 19 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 10 for 12 from the free throw line. For the New York Knicks, in this matchup, their starting shooting guard out of Duke, RJ Barrett, go Duke, would finish with 21 points, it's in 6 rebounds in 33 minutes, as RJ Barrett shot 8 for 14 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the free throw line. The New York Knicks leading scorer would be their starting power forward, Julius Randle out of Kentucky, who finished with 44 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists in 41 minutes, shooting 14 for 22 from the field, 7 for 13 from 3, and 9 for 12 from the free throw line. With this win, the New York Knicks are 14-15, which is the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. Within the conference, they're half a game behind the 5th place Pacers and half a game ahead of the 7th place Hornets, and overall, they are 4.5 games behind the first place 76ers. With this loss, the Atlanta Hawks are tied with the Miami Heat at 11-16 for the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they are a game out of playoff contention and 6.5 games out of behind the first place 76ers. Jumping out to Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls were able to beat the Indiana Pacers 120-112 in overtime to pick up their 11th win of the season. For the Indiana Pacers, their starting point guard Malcolm Brogdon would finish with 23 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists in 42 minutes, shooting 10 for 25 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. And their leading scorer will be their starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis out of Gonzaga, who finished with 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, alongside 4 blocks and 8 turnovers in 43 minutes, as Sabonis shot 7 for 19 from the field and 11 for 14 from the free throw line. For the Chicago Bulls, their leading scorer will be their starting shooting guard, Zach LaVine, who finished with 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists in 38 minutes, as he shot 11 for 25 from the field and 4 for 9 from 3. With this win, the Chicago Bulls are 11-5, which is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference. They are half a game out of the playoff picture behind the Raptors, and they are 6 full games behind the first place 76ers. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are 14-14, which is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. In the playoff picture, they are tied alongside the Nets, 2.5 games behind the Nets and the Bucks, and they are also half a game ahead of the Knicks. So that's about where the Pacers sit. They don't have the same record as the Celtics, but both teams are sitting at 500. Jumping out to Oakland, the Golden State Warriors were able to host the Cleveland Cavaliers and pull off a 129-98 win after outscoring Cleveland by 21 in the second half and 10 in the second quarter. In this rematch of the mid-2010s NBA Finals. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, their leading scorer would be their starting point guard out of Alabama, Colin Sexton, who finished with 23 points, 5 assists and 3 steals in 42 minutes, shooting 9 for 20 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. For the Golden State Warriors in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their goated point guard Stephen Curry, who finished with 36 points, 2 rebounds, and 6 assists in 30 minutes as he shot 13 for 19 from the field, 7 for 11 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the line. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are sitting at 15-13, which is the 8th best record in the Western Conference. Within the playoff picture, they are a game behind the Denver Nuggets, and they are also 1 game ahead of the 9th place Grizzlies on the outside looking in. Overall, they are 8 games behind the first place Utah Jazz, and with this loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers are sitting at 10-19, which is the 3rd worst record in the Eastern Conference. 8.5 games behind the first place 76ers, and 3 games out of the playoff picture behind the Raptors. And then last but not least, jumping to Sacramento in the same region of the same state, the Sacramento Kings were able to beat they hosted the Brooklyn Nets, and the Brooklyn Nets were able to beat the Kings 136-125 after outscoring Sacramento by 7 in the second and by 13 in the third. For the Sacramento Kings in this loss, their starting shooting guard Buddy Hield would finish with 21 points in 34 minutes, shooting 7 for 13 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and 1 for 1 from the free throw line. For the Kings also, their starting shooting guard, Corey Joseph would finish with 22 points and 5 assists in 31 minutes, shooting 10 for 13 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from 3. And their leading scorer for the Sacramento Kings would be their center off the bench, Hassan Whiteside, who finished with 26 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 blocks in 24 minutes, shooting 12 for 15 from the field and 2 for 3 from 3. Or 2 for 3 from the free throw line, And then for the Brooklyn Nets, their elite starting shooting guard James Harden would finish with 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 14 assists alongside 7 turnovers in 35 minutes as Harden shot 10 for 18 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the free throw line. And the leading scorer for the Brooklyn Nets would be their elite starting point guard Kyrie Irving out of Duke. Go Duke. Kyrie Irving would finish with 40 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in 31 minutes as Irving shot 15 for 22 from the field, 9 for 11 from 3, and 1 for 4 from the free throw line. With this win, the Brooklyn Nets are currently sitting at 17-12, which is the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference. Within the East playoff picture, they and the Bucks are both a game and a half behind the first place 76ers, and currently the Nets are sitting 2.5 games above the Celtics and the Pacers, sitting in the 4th and 5th spots in the East. With that said, I'm looking really quickly into what's going on for today's matchup, starting with the primetime ones. At 8 o'clock, the Grizzlies are going to host the Pelicans on TNT as Ja Morant, the number 2 overall pick from the 2019 draft, is going to host Zion Williamson, the number 1 overall pick from the 2019 NBA draft. Of course, there are other players, but that is the matchup that most people are looking for. And then following that, the Suns are going to host the Nets. Both these teams have 17 wins. It'll be the race to 18 wins. The Suns are having an amazing start to the season as they look to host whichever combination of the big 3 that the Nets decide to put in front of them. Outside of those, at 7 o'clock, the Celtics are going to host the Nuggets. These are 2 top teams in their conferences. At 8 o'clock, the Bucks are going to host the Raptors, a matchup that probably would have been great a year or 2 ago. At 8 o'clock, the Timberwolves are going to host the Lakers. The Lakers playing in the city where their franchise originated. 8 o'clock, the Thunder are going to host the Trailblazers. And those are going to be the big games that are going on today. Looking really quickly into college basketball, where there was only 1 game played, and 16th ranked Florida State was able to beat 7th ranked Virginia in Tallahassee 81-60 behind Raekwon Gray's 15 points after outscoring Virginia by 20 points in the first half. With this win, 16th ranked Florida State is 12-3, and they are 8-2 in the ACC. And with this loss, 7th ranked Virginia is now 15-4, as they are 11-2 in the ACC. Looking forward to what's going on today. At 7 o'clock, unranked Georgia is going to host 20th ranked Mizzou on SEC Network. Also at 7, 24th ranked Arkansas is going to host unranked Florida on ESPN2. And last but not least, at 9 o'clock, 5th ranked Illinois is going to host unranked Northwestern on the Big Ten Network. Staying in the arena but shifting to the ice, really quickly looking out to what's going on in the NHL in this early season of the year. The Winnipeg Jets were able to beat the Edmonton Oilers 6-5 after scoring 3 of their goals in the second period to get their 9th win of the season. With this win, the Winnipeg Jets are sitting third in the North Division as they're 5 points out of first place behind the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Arizona Coyotes hosted the St. Louis Blues and were able to beat them 1-0 as their only goal came in the second period. Their goal, Kumper, was the top star of the game as the Coyotes were able to pick up their 7th win of the season. With this win, the Coyotes are sitting third in the West Division as they are currently sitting 5 points behind the first place Golden Knights. The New York Islanders were able to beat the Buffalo Sabres 3-1 as 2 of their goals came in the first period to pick up their 7th win of the season. With this win, the New York Islanders are currently sitting third as they are 5 points behind the first place Boston Bruins. The Ottawa Senators were able to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-5 in overtime to take down the top team in that division despite Austin Matthews' 2 goals and 1 assist. With this win, the Ottawa Senators are still sitting at the bottom of the North Division as overall they are 15 points out of first place behind the Maple Leafs. The Carolina Hurricanes were able to beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 7-3. The Blue Jackets got all 3 of their goals in the first period, but the Carolina Hurricanes would rally from behind. McGinn would finish with 2 goals and an assist as Teravanian, sorry if I butchered your name, he finished with a hat trick of assists to go along with his goal. With this win, the Carolina Hurricanes are sitting third in the Central Division. They are 1 game behind the Tampa Bay Lightning alongside the Florida Panthers and the Blackhawks. So I misspoke. They are tied for second. Also, the Chicago Blackhawks were able to beat the Detroit Red Wings on the road in overtime as Kubalik's 2 goals for the Blackhawks would give them their 8th win of the season. With this win, Chicago is now 4th in the Central Division, or they're tied for second with the Panthers and the Hurricanes, 1 game behind the Tampa Bay Lightning. Going out back up to Canada, the Calgary Flames were able to beat the Vancouver Canucks 4-3 in overtime to get their 8th win of the season. With this win, the Calgary Flames are sitting 5th in the North Division as they are 7 points out of first. And last but not least, the San Jose Sharks were able to beat the Anaheim Ducks at home after scoring all 3 of their goals in the first 2 periods behind Locachure's 1 goal and 1 assist. With this win, the San Jose Sharks are sitting 6th in the table in the West as they are 8 points behind the first place Las Vegas Golden Knights. And really quickly, looking out to what's going on today with the primetime ones. At 7 o'clock, the Penguins are going to host the Capitals on NBC Sports Network. At 8:30, the Stars are going to host the Predators on ESPN+, and at 10 p.m., the Kings are going to host the Wild on ESPN+. Last but not least, jump into the international realm, looking to see what's going on with soccer. Today is a very big day for soccer, but first I'm going to get into what happened yesterday. Chelsea hosted Newcastle United and were able to pick up a 2-0 win. Their 3rd goal will come from their German striker Timo Werner. With this win, Chelsea is currently sitting 4th in the table as they are at the moment 11 points behind first place Manchester City with 1 more game played. They are 4 points behind second place Manchester City and 3rd place Leicester City. That's where they're sitting right now on the table, as West Ham United was also able to win to put more pressure on Chelsea as they were able to beat Sheffield United. And jumping to the German Bundesliga, the reigning German champs who just came off of the FIFA World Cup win, tied with Arminia Bielefeld, which is the 3rd worst team in the Bundesliga after they were down by 3-1 in the second half. For Bayern, their first goal will come from their elite Polish striker Robert Lewandowski, and their last goal will come from their elite Canadian fullback Alphonso Davies in the 69th minute. With this draw, Bayern Munich was able to get a point in the Bundesliga, which was enough to put them up by 5 points over second place RB Leipzig, the team whose best player is going to be joining Bayern in the middle of the season. But that's a whole other storyline. But with that said, that's what Bayern is looking like in the table. Looking forward to what's going on today, it'll be an action-packed game of Champions League. There'll be 2 games that'll take place at 3 o'clock. They're both going to be first legs. For the first leg, Barcelona is going to host PSG. As Lionel Messi and Neymar, they used to be teammates. And Neymar has an elite profile. Lionel Messi has a GOAT profile. just to give you a little bit of insight into how amazing they are. And at the same time, in the first leg, RB Leipzig is going to host Liverpool. Liverpool's been having some trouble, so RB Leipzig may be able to take advantage of this moment in Liverpool's season. But that is what Champions League is looking like for today, and I honestly cannot wait till 3 o'clock. With that said, today is Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece, and I will get back to you once all of these games have finished on Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll see you tomorrow.